Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to the Falcoholic Lives Falcons vs. Panthers Week 8 game preview. It was a wild one out there. There was some insanity. I had to scrap my pregame, my postgame show article like 4 times and rewrite it. I'm sure everyone's already mad at my tweets, saying the Falcons had lost. But in my defense, the Panthers definitely blew this game on at least 2 occasions. I, of course, am Kevin. I have Falcoholic Kevin, joined by my co-host. He is Alan Strk, at Alan Strk on the Twitters. Alan, welcome. Before we do anything, how are you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm just flustered. And I think you're flustered, too, because you said this is a preview. Just to reiterate, folks, this is a post-game show.
Yeah, this is a post-game show.
Yeah, after 10 lead changes, despicable quarterback play, crazy, just it's hard to put into words. I know the Falcons are in first place. I know it's a place where we should be cheerful, but, man, we have to get over some of the nastiness that took place between just the horrific defense from just not being able to get off blocks to just not generating any symbols to pass rush to just the coverage breakdowns. It's hard to digest, but look, there's a positive side to this. The Falcons are in first place, and the offense was actually balanced for a change.
Yeah.
The fact that Kyle Pitts actually caught a couple passes, Drake London made a couple passes, Damar Bird, explosive threats. So that's probably the biggest positive I can take away from this, but it's hard to feel encouraged about what transpired and just how like this franchise is just yearly plagued by just the most inexcusable diabolical breakdowns when literally like you look at the percentage metric, like how many times have we seen the Falcons have 99% sure they're going to win a game? Like we've seen this at least 5 or 6 times over the past 3 or 4 seasons, and they end up essentially blowing it, even though they didn't obviously I know they didn't blow it, but still it felt like it. Like, it's just, when will this franchise learn? When will this defense, when can things just functionally be right?
When can we have why can't you be normal? Why can't you be normal?
Like, can you not allow an XFL star and a career backup to throw it 60 yards downfield where your thumping linebacker and backup safety are somehow covering the one above average receiver on the other team? Like, can we just not do that?
That would be terrific, Alan. I wish that we could. But the Falcons defense, the guilty party in this one, I guess we'll say. The offense got off to a rough start, rebounded in a big way, and to their credit, just kept rolling with the punches that the defense allowed in this one. The defense did contribute a score, which was, of course, vital in this one.
Yes.
So shout out to Lorenzo Carter, the NFL's best coverage edge, as I've often said. Getting that, those extra points, the Falcons really, really needed it in this one, and they needed every last ounce essentially of play from the offense and every little detail of the defense to get this one going. But let's start at the end, Alan, which was the Falcons should have ended the game with the offense's terrific final drive where they go up on the Panthers, get the plays they need to go up by 6 points and give Carolina just 36 seconds on the clock to score a touchdown, that's not very much time, and this is not an offense known for these deep plays. Generally they've been more dinking and dunking, except against the Falcons today, where I believe Atlanta allowed 11 explosive plays, 12 explosive plays. It was a lot. It was way more than you would ever want to allow, and at a certain point, it was getting ridiculous. Like every time it got to 3rd and long, it would be Carolina picking it up. They kept shooting themselves in the foot with penalties, and they keep picking it up. But anyway, they managed to get this crazy Hail Mary throw, which was a good call by them because they threw the Hail Mary early. They could have waited a few more plays, and I think maybe that caught the Falcons off guard. Like you mentioned, they had Rashawn Evans still on the field. I think they were hoping to limit any runs, which, I agree with you that's probably questionable when they need a touchdown to win this game. And if they do run it and get tackled in bounds, in fact, you'd want to encourage them to do that because they've only got 30 seconds and no timeouts. So they give up the touchdown. DJ Moore gets the personal foul, which if you want to argue that that's a ridiculous penalty, I don't disagree with you. I think that it is a ridiculous penalty. I think that it's not worthy of such a big foul, and it shouldn't be influencing games. No No complaint there. Unlike, Bucks fans that were trying to, explain away that Tom Brady roughing the passer, I will not disagree that the Falcons benefited from some ridiculous officiating at the end of that. But the ridiculousness would not end there, Alan, because Eddie Pinheiro would then miss the extra point that was lengthened by the personal foul or the whatever it was, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Then, in overtime, Marcus Mariota tries to go deep to Damiere Byrd, which you live by the bird and you die by the bird in this game, apparently.
Second time, by the way.
Yes, twice. Maybe just, throw that to Pitts. Like, if you're going to do that throw, like, we want to see more of that, to be clear, and we're going to get to that, but, like, throw that ball that you're going to throw up in coverage to Pitts or Drake London, guys that have, like, made their name. Like, Damiere Byrd's a speedster, but he's, like, 5'11". Like, I mean, this is not the guy. But,
yeah.
You mess that up. The Panthers pick it off, return it all the way to the Falcons 20, and at this point I'm tweeting, all right, this game's over, because like it should be. Like I think the Panthers had a 99% win probability or something at that point. Panthers don't get any more yardage, and this one comes down to another kick, and Pinheiro misses again, and that sets up the Falcons for their game-winning drive. Which has some heroics from Marcus Mariota, who on his birthday delivered probably the most Marcus Mariota game in existence. Just these bad interceptions and just inaccurate throws, and then just dimes and like clutch plays and picking up stuff with his legs. Like, you got the full experience, and he does get the Falcons down there. Younghoe Koo nails it to win this one. I didn't even know how to describe this. There was so many twists and turns. This was like a soap opera. Condensed into like 20 minutes at the end of an NFL game. Alan, where do you want to begin with this one?
Man, I'm just still
There's so many things.
I'm still just trying to process it.
Yeah. I mean, at least they won. They got the dub, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Look, just so we're not buzzkill, because I understand people are like, come on, like they did win, and I do think it was a very important offense to show some life. Like, that's probably my biggest takeaway, is the fact that the offense, particularly the past game, we actually saw big chunk plays. And no, it wasn't necessarily smooth. Some of them were broken down plays, but just see Marcus Mariota show some life with his arm, I just thought was very important. I thought the one throw to Drake London, which was on a kind of broken play, was probably his most impressive throw. But
yeah,
I did like his patience, especially when he hit Pitts, which I totally messed this up. I thought it was a design play to Pitts. Pitts was like the third read. He was just in motion. But hey, look.
At least he hit it this time. Like, because there's been a lot of plays like that where Pitts has just been open on that very same play, and Mario doesn't see him and tries to go for this difficult throw, which, like, sometimes that's important to do. But in this case, you just hit Pitts. Just hit Pitts.
Or what he usually does is run into pressure, get sacked, because that is unfortunately a very common trait of Marcus Mariota. He still does it, which you saw in this game. But no, he did hit Pitts, which was nice, and he hit Bird as well. So it was like there were a couple throws. I was like, okay, because Falcons just. What happened against the Bengals, it's not sustainable. And just in general, like, you can't be so dependent on the running game. And it was at least, I think the biggest positive takeaway is like, okay, Kyle Pitts finally making plays. Drake London slowly starting to see life with him, because like these guys could play. Like, I saw a couple comments like, do we even know if Kyle Pitts and Drake London are that good? I'm like, no, they are that good. I'm not saying they're going to be superstars necessarily, but these guys are above average in Pitts' case. To me, he's a star for sure.
I think Pitts is elite. Yeah, Drake London, we're still out there on, but I think like he's shown enough that this is like a quality wide receiver one type of player. So
right. So to me, it's just like, no, these guys need to get the ball in their hands somehow, like any way possible. So I think that's probably the best part. And I thought Caleb Huntley completely outplayed, Algiers moment. I thought Caleb Huntley once again kind of outplayed him. And Caleb Huntley just continues to show that power and just getting yards after contact and just his vision. I saw. Look, if I'm trying to come up with the positives here. I think if you want to start with it, just the offense, the fact that they found balance and they generated explosive plays. Those are like the best things I could take away from this game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I do think that Caleb Huntley has been the better runner. Algier has done some really nice things with the ball in the air, like just making some nice moves after the catch and reading his blocks really well. Caleb Huntley hasn't really been targeted in that way, so that's one part of his game that maybe we'll see, go up over time. But Huntley as a runner has been really dangerous, and I just love the way he runs. He just doesn't take losses. Like, he just doesn't take losses. He looks like he's shot out of a cannon. He's playing hard. He's hungry, and Algier is as well. I think Huntley maybe offers you a little bit more of a dynamic rushing profile, but I think Algier, the more reliable third down guy, the better receiver, which coming out of college didn't catch the ball a lot. So it's obviously nice to see him like, no, this isn't like a he doesn't have hands thing. This is like they needed him to carry the ball 35 times thing back at BYU. But I mean, it's funny because like you feel like the offense didn't even maximize their opportunities because early in this game they really struggled, but they got into a groove and then they just started scoring. Like they just found ways to score. They just kept these drives going with clutch plays, and you like what you saw from them. Obviously, you like that Mariota was able to turn those early struggles into a better game and ice this game for the Falcons with that 28-yard run on third down.
It finally
happy
worked.
Birthday, Marcus. Yeah,
it worked then because I think 3 times they tried with the zone read and it led to like 2 or 3 yard gains, and then finally and Mariota, like the thing that he does so well is just he uses his eyes to like bait defenders. Like Brian Burns kind of got caught out of position, and then Mariota, that juke, like when he gets space, he can make things happen. So I think the biggest thing you can say about Marcus Mariota is that he just, I always say it, gutsy. Like he just seems like he makes those timely plays, no matter how frustrating he is as a thrower, no matter how frustrating he is when it comes to handling pressure in the pocket. Like he just has these moments where you're just like, you got to give it up to him. It's just like, wow, that was spectacular. Like I really thought that throw to London was one of his best plays this season. It's the way he stayed patient, and I think that's very important for him. Like because there's times where he gets happy feet and then he throws a bad ball. Like I think it was the second drive of the game. Like he missed Pitts badly on third down, where he like it was like out route and he threw inside of Pitts and it probably should have been picked off. Like Mariota, he rushed it sometimes. So the fact that he was more patient this game, going through his progressions, I think that showed growth, in at least for his sake. And I think it's something that's like, okay, the Falcons hopefully can build upon it because there were many positives with the past game last week. This week, it's like, okay, players actually caught the ball and made things happen.
They threw a normal amount of pass attempts in this game, I would even say, which is a big change, certainly from how it's been going. But yeah, let me get to some donations real quick. If you guys have questions you want us to get to, welcome everyone to the show. Thanks for everyone subscribing. Do like as well if you don't mind. We really appreciate that. But yeah, if you're interested in asking a question, we read all donations at streamlabs.com/thefalcoholic/tip. Link is in the show description as well. We got 2 right now. First one from Ray Moon with the $10. Ray, what's up, man? Welcome. He says, I can't stand this team, but we did win, but also I can't stand this team. Yeah, that sort of, I feel like that's how the game went. It was like, wow, I can't believe they blew it. Oh, wait, maybe they didn't blow it. Wow, I think they might have blown it. Nope. No, actually, they didn't blow it. Yeah, we've also been conditioned, I think, to like just know that they're going to blow it from just years of Dan Quinn and even last year to an extent. And to be fair, under Arthur Smith this season, they haven't really blown it at all. Like, I mean, against the Saints, like that week 1 game, that was bad. But since that week 1 game, they've been the ones making other teams sweat late. It hasn't always worked, but it's been close.
Yeah, and look, and not to be negative again, but man, you bring up that Saints game, like Jarvis Landry's a glorified possession receiver, and he somehow catches a 50-yard bomb to like help win the game. And like of all people, it happened on, I think Casey Hayward let him get by too. It's like Casey Hayward's a good player too, so it's just how did these things happen? Like it's just good, but nevertheless, it's just you look at his points, like it's not even like okay, some of it's coaching obviously, but like it's just so long with this franchise, like. The Dallas game in 2020, the Chicago game. This game gave me a little bit of flashbacks of that game with Chicago in 2020. Just because I just remember Nick Foles coming in and just throwing bombs. I'm just like, how is this happening right now?
Yeah, it was a weird game from top to bottom. There's a lot of things to call on, and you mentioned it. It just the defense, and like I want to give some grace a little bit because like look, they're down 3 starters out of 5. So that is meaningful. This is not the starting cornerback group. So I don't want to bury people too much when we got Cornell or Armstrong going up against the other team's wide receiver 1. To be fair, I think he played about as well as you could hope against DJ Moore. Like not that bad. I think Darren Hall has been quietly quite good. Just playing good coverage. And then, D. Alford, I thought, made some really crucial plays in this game. Isaiah Oliver is still coming back. I think he looked a little bit better in this one, still gave up some big plays. But, Dean Marlowe had that face mask. He struggled a bit in this one. It's like they're not playing at full strength. These aren't the starters. But, please go ahead. Yeah.
That's what I mentioned. I thought Richie Grant probably has worst game of the season. Missed a lot of tackles.
Yeah. He was trying to be really aggressive in this one. He was so close also to making some impact plays. Just it felt like last year's Richie Grant a little bit, where he was like in the right spot, in the right area, and just didn't make the play. I think he'll bounce back because I think on the whole he's had a pretty good season, but bad game for him in this one. Falcons did allow almost 500 yards in this one, over 300 passing yards again. To their credit, they also put up over 400 yards. They did crest that magical 200 passing yards number that I think they've only done like a handful of times this season. Again, put up a very good rushing total, 167 yards on the ground. And like, I can't believe this, but like, despite the Falcons I thought they were giving up every third down against Carolina, and they actually only gave up 5 third down conversions in the game out of 13. So like, I don't know if that's right. Like, that seems wrong to me, but I think it was just like every time they gave up a third down, it was like a 3rd and long, and it just like, it was crushing. Maybe all those third downs were on that one drive. I don't know, but it was just, so that obviously is actually a good third down, like, efficiency. The Falcons on offense, 50% on third down, 6 of 12. So that's nice. They did give up the 2 sacks, only got 1 sack on the Panthers, but you know, you take those with this pass rush. Complicated game. Yeah.
Probably the one time, like, cause I was venting about like DPs running all these delayed blitzes and it finally worked.
Yeah,
to stop on to cause the 4th and 17 Rashaan Evans, even though I think it was more of the center blowing his positioning rather than actually. But you know, look, DPs, he's very persistent. But hey, is long overdue a delayed blitz work because I just feel like these blitzes that he runs is just so long and it's just like the issue is like you could run delayed blitzes if you actually have like a pass rush, at least, you know, get the quarterback moving. But the issue is with these delayed blitzes, the quarterback is usually staying tall in the pocket because the Falcons just don't generate pressure. So it's like you're running these delayed blitzes and teams are picking up on it rather quickly just because they don't really have much to fear outside of Grady Jarrett. So I don't know, like that's another thing with this defense is just that you hear all about DPs being someone that just brings pressure and it's been largely uninspiring. But hey, that one moment didn't cause a 4th down stop, so you know what?
Glorious moment. Just take those. I
mean, I hope contribute to a victory. So
it did. And like, I get why they're trying to get pressure any way possible because of all the problems we've mentioned. Right, the Falcons right now can't really generate much pressure with 4, and the secondary is so injured. So it's like we just have to force mistakes. We can't sit back and play coverage with a bunch of backups in our secondary. And we can't also just rush 4. So we sort of they're sort of forced into this blitzing strategy. And sometimes it works and sometimes it burns you. It burned them a lot in this game. But like you said, they did get one big plus play on that blitz.
I would just like to see them use the speed more. Like Michael Walker showed flashes his first 2 years as a blitzer. And I think he had a sack against New Orleans. It's like you have him, you have Troy Anderson, Richie Grant. Like you have real speed. Like, okay, it works with Rashaan Evans. Fair enough. But like, it's just the defense has some guys that could move. Like they could cause damage. I think they could take on running backs that blow through them. Like these are physical, explosive players. So to me, I want to see more with at that point because it's just you can't depend on this front 4. I know they're still developing, but look, the Falcons are in position now. It's like they're in the playoff hunt at least for now. So it's just like at some point you got to make adjustments. Like, and, you know, another thing we probably should get into just how bad the sincere line is as well, and the way Deontay Foreman was just bullying them.
Yeah, they really are missing a nose tackle. Like I think Amir Abdullah gives you solid like rotational
Abdullah Anderson.
Play. Jesus, this is like the 4th time I've done that. I don't know that many Abdullahs. That's my fault.
I saw him make an appearance today. The Raiders. Oh man, they couldn't get past midfield today.
Yeah, no, they could not. So Abdullah Anderson is who I'm talking about. They don't like Timmy Horn is not it. He's really struggling. Abdullah Anderson is here, and I think playing at like a solid like rotational level, but they just don't have like a big nose tackle that's like giving them good play at this point, at all.
Yeah, I think Taquan Graham is playing too many snaps now because he hasn't been as effective either. He did draw a holding penalty, but
I think he's been good, but he's also not that nose tackle. Like he's more of like a 5-tech, 3-tech type of guy. So
because he's like 290 or even lighter.
I think they list him at 300 now, but it's like this isn't a big defensive line. Like they cut Anthony Rush, which I still think is like puzzling to me because I didn't think he was playing badly. I don't even remember. Did we even see Jalen Dalton today? He was activated. I don't remember.
I don't remember seeing him.
But I mean, I guess I hope he can give them something on the interior. He was looking good in the preseason, but like, man, I just it was rough at times.
Yeah, I just thought it was alarming because look, I know Deontay Foreman's always been kind of an underrated running back. I think if he ever got his opportunity, he could be something, as you saw today. But it's just like it just felt like Carolina gave him the ball. It was minimum 4 yards. Just whether it was a little bit more of a counterplay or just straight power, like he was just running through, and the holes were pretty open. There's no penetration, and it's just there's no resistance. And just like you've seen the Falcons in this position before, and like you look at the personnel, just like how can you be content with this? Like how can you be confident with this rotation?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. And look, they cut Marlon Davidson, which fine. Like at this point, he didn't prove anything. Then I guess you have to cut your losses. This regime didn't draft him, so I guess they didn't feel obligated to keep him around if he wasn't proving anything. But I just think at some point, if this team is going to show any drastic improvement defensively, they got to do something on the interior.
Oh yeah, I think getting like a top edge is still a big deal, but getting just multiple defensive interior, because I think you have the like frame of a good group. Obviously, you have Grady Jarrett, who's one of the stars. I think you need 2 stars on the interior. Like you need 2 at least plus players there. I think you've got a good rotational guy in Taquan Graham, but I think ideally he's like your third guy. Like he's the guy you want to rotate in, you're not going to fall off, and you're going to get like potential impact plays from him as he rotates in and plays like 40-50% of the snaps, whatever. Right. But they just don't have anyone other than Grady Jarrett. So when Jarrett has to leave the field, the drop off is so intense there. So I think obviously everyone's talking about Jalen Carter. I really don't think they're going to be in position to draft him. Maybe there's somebody else, but like maybe you just sign guys. Like people are asking me about, do we trade for Daron Payne? Like I'm saying you don't need to. Like just sign him. Like sign him in free agency. You got the money to sign anyone you want. Make him an offer. Tell him you're going to play next to Grady Jarrett. Let's go.
Yeah, not to be cynical, but the Falcons should be going overboard to put themselves in a position to get likely blown out by the Cowboys wildcard weekend. I hate to phrase it that way, but I just see like some of these teams, because I live in New York, so I'm seeing giant Jet fans talking about playoffs and everything. I'm telling them like you can be aggressive, especially Tuesday's a trade deadline, but don't handicap yourself to just put yourself in a position where it's like, look, we know this is a 2-3 year rebuild process, like, and you're kind of ahead of schedule, especially with the Giants. But why trade a second round pick for a player you don't know if you're going to get back? And it's just like, how is it really going to put you in the position to contend? You're not really trying to contend. Like for me, I think they should just sign D tackle that's someone proven, just to give him some sort of solidity
at minimum.
Yeah, but I'm not saying like you shouldn't be trading future assets to
you
make
don't
a
need
splash.
to.
Yeah,
like
you're just not in that position.
The purpose. Yeah, it defeats the purpose. I think like you trade for guys if you need them to play this year. Like and you want to make sure you have an advantage in the negotiations. I don't think they need to do that. They have the money to beat anyone's offer for these guys and overpay if they want. But like you said, like I think it's fun. Like enjoy this team potentially going to the playoffs, because at this point they're the 4th seed. And it's not unreasonable to think that they could hold on to that given the play of the rest of this division. Like I mean, but they're not a good football team. Like this is a middling average football team that's punching above their weight. But you don't sell out future assets to try to maximize a window on a team that's just overachieving. Like you enjoy the overachieving, you see how far it takes you, and then you use all these assets that you've carefully constructed now. You've taken your medicine this year. You've eaten all your dead cap. You eat your vegetables. You got that kale in you. It's gross, but whatever. And like now you're just healthy and rearing to go. You got all those carbs, all those macros going your way. Stay with me on this analogy.
Yeah, I mean, you covered it, man. Beautifully said. I don't know what's the next. Where's the next subject?
I don't know.
Long story short,
protein shake. Is your draft? No, we'll cut off
mentality.
It there. Yeah.
Long-term mentality. That's all I'll say. Like,
I like that.
It wouldn't make sense because Washington is not giving up for cheap. Washington has no reason to give him up for cheap. He's one of their few assets. Like look at Carolina right now, for instance, with DJ Moore. They're probably getting trade off. But why are we going to trade one of our long-term assets? Like just because the team is bad doesn't mean they're going to trade some of their core pieces for cheap. So
exactly. So it's you just you don't force it. You don't try to maximize this year. Like, I know some people want that, and it's like, well, if you're gonna make the playoffs, shouldn't you try to like do something? It's like you should try, but like, don't go overboard trading guys, because like, look, even if you trade for Payne or whoever, and they're sure planning to franchise him, there's nothing saying he's gonna re-sign here. Obviously, I think if you trade for him, you have an advantage in re-signing him, but like, you're probably gonna have to still overpay him. You know, you're gonna have to overpay everyone in free agency. So like, just don't send the draft pick. Just overpay him in free agency like normal, and just get him next year when you're actually loading up to be what should be a better roster overall. I think that's the better plan.
Well said. How concerned are you with the offensive line, pass protection wise? Like,
It's bad.
yeah,
It's bad. Now the Panthers have a really good pass rush. Like, that's
true.
been one of their strengths. So like, I think they held up okay, but I think that is one of the factors certainly holding this passing game back. Now, if they go up against, you know, bad pass rushes, it probably won't be as big of a deal, but it's a problem, and that's why I think it's just 2023, the trenches. Like, this is the trench year. Like, I like the tackles in free agency better than the interior guys. You know, so maybe Caleb McGarry is not good at pass protection. He's been a lot better as a run blocker, but you can tell pass protection's never, like, this is year 4. Pass protection's never going to be his forte. He's just not good at it. So I think, you know, you potentially go big to sign an impact right tackle. You know, there could be a Jack Conklin reunion, right? With Arthur Smith. He had a lot of great years there. You know, maybe you go that direction for more of a proven commodity. I think you keep around Jermaine Ifedi as like a good backup, but, and I think maybe you go for an interior guy, go for, you know, if they're picking like in those 18, 20, 22, that range, like you could potentially get the best center or interior offensive lineman in the draft with that pick. They've sort of been out of range to get that impact interior guy the last several years, but like, to me, it's like you sign your tackle, you get your interior offensive lineman or your interior defensive lineman in those picks, and then you're cooking with gas, and you've got a whole new offensive or defensive line with just your first couple of assets.
Right. Because I'm starting to think Drew Dalman's a liability. I'm seeing a lot of this. Like the way Derek Brown was manhandling a few occasions, and then he's still just struggling to identify different twists and other schemed up pressures. It's basically watching Matt Hennessy again. Like,
yeah,
it really
the
is.
fact that Matt Hennessy hasn't been inserted means that they have no confidence in Hennessy to do better. And I think I think Drew Dalman is like a quality reserve center. Like, this is a guy that can come in and start games for you, and he's not going to hamstring your offensive line. But this is not a guy that you're like, this is our long-term starter. So far, this was only like his 8th start. So like, I'm not going to, sell him down the river necessarily, but so far he is the biggest weakness. Like, it's not left guard anymore. It is center, I think, at this point.
The only thing I'll say that I think he is slightly more athletic than Hennessy, and he can maybe make a couple more of like those reach blocks. But besides that, man, it's just he's just on the ground a lot, and you put him against these nose tackles. Like, I remember watching week 2 against Greg Grains. I was like, this is concerned. But it was the second game hostile. I'm not gonna say hostile environment in LA, but look, you're going against the Super Bowl champion, so it's obviously a tough matchup. But it's just the past few weeks you watch him, and it's just like he's really not taking many strides, and he's not improving on his flaws. Like, at this point, like, I think with any team, it's like you just need stability at the center position, because not having a quality center could really damage your offense. So I think it's just something to keep in mind. But I did think the pass protection it got somewhat better today, but I don't know. I think it's something that you have to watch the film, because I did notice Mariota was running around a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if I told you this draft guy, I'm a fan of Peter Skoronski from Northwestern, the tackle, but he plays all 5 spots. So you could have him play right tackle or center or either guard spot, maybe eventually move to left tackle in a few years after, Matthews hangs him up. But the other guy is, this is like the most center name imaginable I can think, like the most offensive line name, John Michael Schmitz. From Minnesota. I think he's the top rated center right now, according to TDN. It's like, like, you hear that name, that just screams offensive line, and I need that man. 6'4", 320-pound center. So I think they could use it,
Unfortunately, that screams first round pick by the Packers. That's what it
Yeah,
screams to me.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
That's just like the most offensive line
Yeah.
name I could ever see.
Uh,
So I think there's no way he could be a bad offensive lineman. I know
right.
that. I'm very confident in that. But let me get to a couple more of these donations here. We had a couple from George, and we got Corey with the $5. Thank you so much, Corey. He says, Falcons at the fourth most cap room in the NFL, and they've got two players who aren't even here taking up most of that cap space. We are 4-4 and built tough, leading the division. I'm predicting 11-6 in a division win, currently fourth in the NFC. Yeah, I think 11-6 is rich.
Yeah, that's ambitious.
I'm thinking 9-8, personally. That's what I'm updating my projection to is 9-8. It was 6-11, so I think better than I predicted, but I do think that 9-8 is probably what you're looking at. But that's probably good enough to win this division.
I mean, man, the Bucks look broken. The Panthers, we know what the Panthers are, and the Saints just okay. They won today, but like you can't really trust that Saints team. Like you watch the Bucks, man. There is just it looks like they got way too old, and then their young players aren't stepping up. It's kind of like the 2013 Falcons, but not as bad. Like remember the 2013 Falcons were kind of old, and we're just kind of hoping the young players step up, but they never did. Like that's kind of the Bucks right now. It's just a team that uh they could kind of move the ball, but they can't execute in the red zone, and then the defense all of a sudden can't stop the run. They're kind of slow. So, no, I think this division is definitely here for the taking, but it's more of a testament of how bad division is than Falcons taking significant strides. It's just that's how I see it.
No, I agree with you. I do. All right, we got George Costanza with a paragraph for me to get to here, so we're gonna take care of this one. George, total of $4. Just he's got a lot to get off his chest, so bear with him here. So first point he wants to make, I love how you use Kyle Pitts. That's how you use him in this game. He
definitely want to talk more Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, we will. So this could be a good opportunity for that. He dominated that defense. Panthers had no answer for him. No one has an answer for him. Mariota just has to throw him the damn ball. So that's a good opportunity to talk about Pitts. This is, I think, his best game so far this season.
Yeah, I love how finally, because we wanted to see him in the open field, so it wasn't just the fact that they put him in motion and he was like the third reader, but what he did after a catch, like to me, he gained at least an extra 15 yards, and he's just so smooth, and the way he runs is just those long galloping strides. Like he gets yards very quickly, and it's just those type of moments. And I thought there was like a 9-yard slant where he took a huge hit, I think, from Justin Burris, and like he got up smiling, and like Burris looked concussed. And it's just like those plays like tone setters. And I think that was the same drive. London made a similar play where he made a tough catch across the middle. And that's what I think of Arthur Smith's offense. Because I remember A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, off play action, those dig routes, the slants. Like they would catch across the middle and they would take punishment, but they also could dish out punishment.
Yeah.
And I just love the physical element both London and Pitts brings, but in particular Pitts. And that touchdown, like the way he saw that block, just masterfully done.
Yeah, it was just much better usage of Kyle Pitts in this one. He needs to be targeted at least this many times. He needs to have this many catches. We got to utilize him. We just have to. We got George Costanza again. Second point, we can win putting the ball in the air. We need to utilize the weapons that we have. Our defense looked gassed at the end, but also we're down most of our secondary. The fact is, this is a dub. A win is a win. This team is better than I thought initially. Yeah, I mean, I agree. You have to. These are the games the Falcons were losing last year, where it's like they should have won these games and then they blew it. It's nice that they're not on the receiving end of blowing it today. Really used to that happening. Certainly.
Yeah.
It's brutal. We got a draft take now from George. I think that drafting another wideout could be a good course of action. Imagine having London Pitts, someone like Jalen Hyatt, and then you bring back Calvin Ridley. Could be a potent offense that would rival KC. I agree, George. You just need the quarterback then.
Hey, listen, we even talk about it, but oh man, I want to give him a shot. I think his name's Creighton McDonald.
Yeah.
You seen the T-shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, when it's oh sorry, I'm trying to get this guy's info. Did you see his shirt?
Yeah.
Man, when it's available, I'm buying it, and once I buy it, I will be wearing it on this show.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. But nevertheless, Let's relax with wide receivers. This team has a lot of holes.
Yeah, no, we're not drafting another wide receiver. We can't do that.
I wouldn't be shocked. Like
they will draft one maybe at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I wouldn't be shocked if Corey Davis ends up here, just because I think he's going to be a cap casualty with the Jets, and just I always felt like Arthur Smith really liked him, so I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Davis ends up here.
Yeah, I think you don't want Corey Davis to be your primary threat, but as like he would be the third threat in this offense at best. And I think that's a great fit for him. Yeah. We know he can block and everything too. So into that, finally from George says, can't believe we are over 500 after 8 weeks. I'm officially on the hype train. Even more so, there's great reason to be hyped for the future. In 5 years, we'll be back in the Super Bowl. We will have the weapons now. We need that culture. Within 5 years, he says, it will be the Super Bowl.
Wait, but this game, this was the win that got you hyped?
Yeah.
Not San Francisco? Like, this was the game? Like, allowing a 62-yard touchdown to DJ Moore from PJ Walker? This was the moment?
Yep. Oh, this is the one. This is the one that did it.
All right, man. Well, look, man. God bless the fans, man. We need this kind of energy, though. That's it.
Yeah, we do. All right, we got Gary Stafford with the $10. Thank you so much, Gary. He says, I predicted we'd go 2-15. Playing well this year is a bonus. Imagine if we had quality free agents on the defensive line and in our secondary right now. Next year should be good. So
hold on. He said 2-15. Is this a USA Today employee? Did he make those records?
Gary, do you write for USA Today? Is that it?
Look, I saw a lot of bad records, but that was the only time I've seen 2-15. So I'm wondering if Gary works for USA Today.
maybe, but he's changing the take. He's updating the win projection now that they've won 4 games. So I appreciate that either way. All right, we got Jason Gaines, the $1. He says, I want Dean Marlowe released immediately. What was he thinking? Giving up the game-tying touchdown to DJ Moore. Don't trust Marlowe. He was on that 2015 and 2016 Panthers team. Maybe a little bit of friendly fire. Yeah, no, D. Marlowe's been fine. I mean, he's a backup safety. It's like,
so real quick, my connection with D. Marlowe, right? I don't know if I ever told you this.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I've tweeted about it a couple times. So D. Marlowe, ironically, was in my sophomore year of high school. I sat next to him in Spanish class. So he went to the same high school. He's a year older than me. So yeah, I remember him. Like he was a big time safety in our high school, and he was getting like some big time recruits, and eventually he ultimately made it to NFL. So when he signed, I was excited. So when I covered the Falcons Jets game, I was trying to get Matt Haley to connect us, but apparently Marlowe's one of the first people that went to the team bus, so I couldn't get the interview. But yeah, I do know D. Marlowe. Yeah, that's we used to talk a bit because I think I was in high school in 09-10 season. And I was all in on the Vikings. I just remember he was big on the Saints too. So that makes it even more evil. He was big on the Saints. Look, he blew it. I didn't think he played particularly well. I'm going to keep my comments to that because I do like him as a human being.
Yeah, no, we need better going forward, to say the least.
Yeah. I think those types of plays, in all seriousness, to be objective, you really need to see all 22. I'm very curious to see how this came about, because these types of long developing plays, broken plays, it's like the first half of this game, that was the hilarious thing about this game. It became like a punt off, and then all of a sudden, they were scoring every drive. Did you realize that?
No, I did not. Yeah.
That first half was ugly, and then second half, nobody could get a stop.
Yeah, it just the offenses took off, and clearly Carolina, after firing Rule, has found new life. So I think you can sort of throw out their start to the season, because under PJ Walker, last week they crapped on the Bucs. This week, they did obviously choke it away at the end with some bad mistakes, but this team is not lifeless anymore. I think they've got the ghost of Matt Rule off their backs now, and they're going to be frisky down the stretch, because the defense has always been good.
Yeah, their defense has players from Burns to what's his name, Frankie Lulu. Am I butchering it?
Luvu, I think.
Luvu, yeah, Luvu's good. Obviously, J.C. Horde, Jeremy Chin, who I think he's still banged up, but they got players there. They've built up. I still think Shaq Thompson's a quality linebacker, so they're no slouches, and I still feel like Steel Wilkes got a bad rep in Arizona. I think, he got a raw deal, excuse me. So look, they're gonna be competitive. This Thursday night game. You thought today's game was sloppy. Oh, wait for that short term game. Oh, Thursday night, 4 days rest. Oh, it's gonna be even more sloppy.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be another beautiful disaster. Yep.
Yeah. But no, Carolina credit to them. They just look a bit rejuvenated, but it's just, I don't know, with the Falcons, given how well they've played to start the season, it's just, you just want to see more fundamental play.
Yeah.
And it was just really disappointing to see how the defensive breakdown happened. Because, like I said, like even though the second half defensive performance was ugly, if that 62-yard touchdown didn't happen, I'd be still in a pretty optimistic space. But after that touchdown, like I'm still
it's
like,
hard. Yeah,
it's
to be
just
too
nasty.
excited.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, but what do you? Because we haven't mentioned him since he's hopefully going to be back next week. But do you still feel like this offense? To me, they desperately need Cordell Paris back just for some
they need his
juice.
dynamic. Like, he's the dynamic presence. But I think it's like with Patterson, like you don't need him to carry it 20 times, but like he's special. And I think like Huntley and Algier are both good, but I think Patterson's special. So I think you still let him carry the load, play as much as he can, and he just brings such a dynamic presence that, to be fair to Huntley and Algier, they've handled the rushing load well in his absence, but Patterson's sort of a special player, and it's like you go back to him, like and you let Huntley and Algier grind it out late, maybe take some of those early carries, and then you let Patterson just rip off those splash plays.
And outside of the screen to Algier today, I feel like the Falcons screen game has been atrocious this year, and I think Patterson would make a huge difference, whether it's screen out of the backfield or tunnel screen out wide, bubble screen, or whatever it may be. Like, I just think to help improve the screen game and, to mask the offensive line's limitations, I just think a guy like Patterson's just so valuable to have, because he can break tackles, he's going to get yards after contact, he can make players miss. He's just, like you said, he brings that dynamism. And I think for an offense that still can't really get into that much of a rhythm unless they're just pounding the ball, I think having Cordell Patterson, you just need those splash plays. And we saw last year, like, to me, Cordell Patterson kind of, along with Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts, like, won them a few games. Like, I look back at that Miami game, I look back at the New Orleans game, like, Cordell Patterson literally made plays that just broke everything open. So I think getting him back would be huge. And if they could, I don't know if they're ever going to get to necessarily like a good rhythm offensively, but if you have someone that defenses always have to account for, at least they'll open things up for Kyle Pitts, Drake London.
Yeah. We got a long way to go still. Like, this passing game is just so ugly at times. It needs to be better if this team really wants to make improvements. Mariota, again, like, he taketh and he giveth, right? Like, 20 of 28, a better day for him, 253 yards. Okay, that's like, is that a season high? I don't know. It might be, but
I don't know about that Seattle game. That's
right.
the only game that comes to mind, or maybe even the Rams game, because there was a lot of coming back. But
no, this is a season high. Yeah,
I am surprised. So he was 20 for 28, but the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of those incompletions were so ugly.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Like,
and two picks, that both of them were throws that shouldn't have been made. So
exactly, like, we could look. Demario Bird definitely could have made better plays on him, but you're asking a lot for a player like him to make those plays in contested catch spots. Yeah. I did like and it was close, but it was like the first time I've seen it all season. He did take a shot to London downfield, and it was almost complete. And I thought the ball was decently throwable, it was just better coverage. I hope that's the one thing that's really missing. In general, I need to see more Drake London, but I hope, whether it's just go balls or deep over routes, I just want to see Drake London be utilized more vertically, because watch his highlight reel in college. That's where
he's really good there. He's not a burner, but he's really natural with the back shoulder balls. And like, if you're gonna throw that damn ball deep downfield into tight coverage, like, it needs to be freaking London or Pitts, not 5'11" Demario Bird, who is like really fast, but like, if he's not open, he's not jumping up in the air and catching that ball. Like, that's really not his game. So, like, if you want to throw that, just throw it to Pitts or London, man. Like, those are the guys that are going to make that play.
I definitely want to see, because once again, it's all 22, like, I want to see what the route concepts were on both those interceptions. Like, where was London used, where was Pitts? What was the formation alignment? Were they using two tight ends? Were they using max protect? Like, that's the thing. But, like, if the Demario Bird's, like, running the vertical route and Drake London's running, say, like a dig, it's just like, oh, man, Mariota, like, if Bird is well covered, just don't throw that ball, because he's just not going to win there. So, and like, you got to learn from it, because like, that second interception should have cost them the game. And if it wasn't for Eddie Pinheiro, it would be a totally different mood right now.
Yeah. So it's Yeah, you just can't throw those. Like, I like the aggressiveness. I like that they're trying to incorporate the deep shots. We know that's something that they want to do, but you can't just like unleash the dragon. Who is it that did that? Rex Grossman or whatever. Unleash the dragon. Just
Hell of a
like
reference.
yeah. Like you can't do that. Like, you have to be careful with the ball too. And to Mariota's credit, I think he needs to. Like, he does need to be more aggressive with it, and generally I think he does a good job of not making bad decisions about where to throw it, to the extent that like sometimes he like hesitates and should throw it and doesn't. And so neither of those balls to Damiere Byrd should have been thrown. He was not open at any point on either of those routes, but there were some other plays where Mariota threw great passes. Like, it's just the inconsistency is frustrating with him, and obviously he gives you a lot with his legs. I'm glad Mariota was able to get that dub for his birthday instead of having that birthday L. So good for him.
Good job for him, man. Eat a delicious cake. Like, look, all these. Once again, I gotta try to find another word of gutsy. But look, he made plays, man. Say we want by Mariota, but he made the plays.
You live and die by the mistakes and the successful plays, and right now, at least. On balance, Mariota's giving you enough successful plays that the Falcons are at 500. But you can tell that there are limitations. You can tell that there are mistakes, and both can be true, right? Like, Mariota cannot be having a great season, but he can be having a good enough season that he shouldn't be yoinked out of the lineup for Ridder before Ridder's ready to go. And I think there's a lack of nuance, I think, in the Mariota versus Ridder discussion. And it's that, like, Mariota's not perfect, and he's not necessarily playing at a high level on the whole, but he's playing good enough for this team to still be in it in pretty much every game except for the Bengals game. And even that game, I don't really think was his fault. I think it was the offense as a whole just sort of cratered in that one. So, like, be reasonable about what you expect from Mariota, but also be reasonable that the Falcons aren't necessarily going to bench him because he's not playing like elite level football, because and I think assuming that Ridder would play elite level football is like a mistake. Like, it's just a grass is greener fallacy. Like, you just think that because Ridder is different that he'll be better. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Maybe he would be. I don't know. I certainly am a big fan of Desmond Ridder, but just yoinking your starting quarterback because you think your backup could be better isn't a good reason. Like, we need like Mariota hasn't played poorly enough to get benched yet.
Yes, that's the consensus viewpoint.
Yes. And he's making mistakes and he's making good plays. So as long as you make more good plays than mistakes on the whole, and the Falcons are in contention, that's fine.
At this point, I think this conversation, we got to wait till after the Thursday night game against Carolina, because look, he's going to play against the Chargers next week. They're not going to bring in Ridder on a short week against Carolina. So we'll see what happens in these next two games. These are big games. They've got the rematch against Carolina, but they got the Chargers as well. I think the Chargers are very vulnerable, and
yes, they're really bad at defending the run.
I know,
like the worst. So.
Hey, if we get if there's a game to replicate the Browns game plan, let's do it. Just hopefully Mariota is not sent for 19 and throws 3 hospital balls, 1 lean to an interception.
Yeah, the Chargers allow 5.7 yards per carry, which is 31st in the NFL. So
I'm cautiously optimistic about this game, especially now that Mike Williams is out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be one of those and we'll see. I mean, who knows how close AJ Terrell is to returning? I have a hard time believing he's going to play. But it's a tough matchup defensively, but again, it's going to be up to the offense to carry the load each and every week, because we just really shouldn't expect too much from the defense. I think the defense is good enough to keep them in games, but we can't expect the defense to win any games. So it's really going to be on the rushing game, I think, next week in particular, to just take over and keep the Chargers from getting a bunch of points quickly and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier in the show, feeling like Huntley has been playing better than Algier, and the stats bear it out, right? They had almost the same number of carries. Huntley, 16 carries for 91 yards. That's 5.7 yards per carry. Algier, 14 carries for just 39 yards, 2.8 yards per carry. Huntley was just doing a lot more with his carries. We did see Algier get those 3 catches for 46 yards, which is obviously nice, and the touchdown. But you wonder, who is going to lose snaps when Patterson comes back. I don't really think it should be Huntley losing a lot of snaps. It might be that you move Algier to more of a third down role, and lean more with Huntley as your number 2 running back based on how well he's fared as a runner. I think he's been the superior runner over Algier, but again, both are fine. Yes. Like, it's not like it's a problem one way or the other, but I think I like what I see more from Huntley on the ground. And I would probably want him to be the number 2 running back at this point behind Patterson.
He provides more burst. Like, you just watch it every snap. Like, it just seems like you have that feeling like he's going to create something. Yep. And he had that 30-yard run, which helped spark the drive. So, yeah, he's been, to me, the best surprise so far this season. And you got to love the story. Someone that you watch the preseason games, third, fourth quarter, just like, just another running back. Hey, look at him. Preseason hero turns into a legitimate regular season contributor. And I think someone that the coaching staff can depend on.
Yeah, I think so. All right.
Any other final takeaways? No.
We do have one donation here from Andre Fuller real quick. The $5. Great show, he says. Thank you, Andre. He says knowledgeable guests and a great host. Well, Alan's my co-host technically. So, but yes, I that's correct. As y'all pointed out, we need a new center and right tackle in the draft or free agency. Outside of that, every available financial and draft asset needs to go into the front 7. I mean, no disagreements here. Like, I think that's a good strategy. Like, if they want to raid free agency for a couple pieces on the line and then hit the draft for the rest of them, I mean, I think that's a good strategy. So, it's just a difficult watch. I mean, it was fun. Like, I feel like if I wasn't a Falcons fan, I would have been like, oh, this game is hella fun. This game is off the rails. Like, it would have been just an enjoyable game. And like I mentioned it before the show, like, all I really wanted from the Falcons this year, knowing full well that this roster is going to have its limitations, was that they needed to be fun, engaging, exciting, and like, to their credit, they've done that. They've accomplished that pretty much every week. Last week maybe being a little bit of an exception where they struggled, to bring that one back. But good job so far, Falcons, being entertaining, being fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it better with the W. If there wasn't a W, it would have been very angry. And also the Panthers punishing me for tweeting out that the game was over. Look, like they had the ball. At 20.
I got some stuff to delete.
they got the ball. I mean, I'm not going to delete it because it's like, it's fine. Like, I'll take the L there, but it's like they had the ball at the 20. All they needed to do was first of all, all they needed to do was get the extra point. Then they had the ball at the 20 in overtime, and they missed that field goal. It's like, come on, like. Yeah. Come on. Like, I'm trying to get the show going, get my takes off, and start working on the show. And,
I appreciate the entertainment, but just more fundamental football, please. That's all I ask. Just, we can't have a 62-yard touchdown allowed like that ever again. Like, please. Yeah. Yeah, that's everything else this season has been understandable. This was like the first moment all season where I was just like flabbergasted. I'm just like, shame on everyone in this organization. But look, they got the win. It's entertaining. They're first place, and we'll just take it from there, I guess. It's a lot to digest. Like, some weeks I look forward to watching films, some weeks I don't. I just gotta like digest it. Like, what on earth happened? Like, just play by play. Like, I'm not cautiously, but I'm not eagerly anticipating it. But I'm just out of pure curiosity. I'm looking forward to seeing the ultimate.
Yeah, I think so. Just a wild finish, completely wild, and don't really have much more to say about it. I agree. It's sort of like we need to get the all-22 to really break this down and dive into it. But just to me, the big takeaway is like, you just can't allow all these explosive plays. You just can't. You can't. You're not going to win a lot of games allowing like 10, 12 explosive plays like they did. And also, you're not going to win a lot of games when you throw 2 picks. So that's part of it too. You got to cut down on those mistakes, but they do find a way
to run over. We have mentioned they got ran over.
Yeah, they did get ran over. This was their worst game on the ground. And it was funny because I feel like a lot of times they actually limited the ground game, but then they just like gave it like in the red zone. They just got dominated. So it was like, it was a weird game against the run. I still think their run defense is like better overall than their pass defense by a lot. But they're going to have their work cut out for them next week against Austin Eckler and that Chargers offense. But They just got to do enough, and then this Falcons run game needs to eat, like just needs to crush. And hopefully Patterson will be back. That'll help a lot in that area, but it's gonna once again be up to this rushing attack to just dominate. And if they do, you feel good about the Falcons in that one. Also, the Chargers are like the other team that's probably cursed like as much or more than the Falcons.
I say slightly more.
Yeah, maybe slightly more. So, there's obviously that working against the Chargers. You never know though. When you get two cursed teams facing each other, anything can happen. So it could be very interesting there. But that's it for us today, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in, hanging out. Let's thank my co-host. He is Alan Strk, Alan Strk on the Twitters. Alan, anything you're working on you'd like to plug?
I'll definitely be writing this week. I no idea what I'm gonna be writing after that. Nothing.
Yeah.
There's like 10 possibilities in my mind. Just stay tuned. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Just stay tuned. We're still have to figure out exactly what to center our post game content on, but something certainly. And guys, I am Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin for my hater tweets, saying that the Falcons lost this game. If you want to go check those out, those are still up. So, yes, a beautiful disaster. I'm glad they proved me wrong. So
live tweeting is an emotional experience, people.
Yes, I don't know what you guys expect. I'm not Rap Sheet. All right, what do you want? Like sterile team tweets? Okay, like this. Just mute me during the game if you're finding it that stressful. I mean, come on. Yeah, this Dave says we can do whatever we want with our live tweets, and I took that very seriously. So
I know that's why he's the man. But,
that's why he's the man. Yeah.
In all seriousness, people though, like we all mentioned, have a happy Halloween, enjoy your candy, and keep the content rolling.
Yep, we got that division lead secured for an entire week, also, Alan. So I actually think no matter what happens, they would still at least be tied for the lead next week. So. Because every other team is only at 3 wins. So we're in good shape.
Graphic. I can't wait. Atlanta 4, 5 Dallas.
Yep, exactly. That's
coming.
Got to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess Arthur Smith at his conference just said, I'm sure you guys had a bunch of stories pre-written that you could have gone with. Good luck tonight. I think you guys probably had to delete a lot of your stories. Yes, I did. I had to rewrite this show's description 15 times. And change the graphic 3 times. So,
at least he's aware.
Yeah, he's very aware. He knows the struggle is real here for the media. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much. Do like and subscribe. Support us on Patreon if you're so inclined. Patreon.com/Falcoholic Live. Really appreciate that. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Appreciate everyone chatting, and even if you're team Mariota or team Ritter or a reasonable person in the middle, thank you guys for chatting and hanging out. There's room for all here. Just let's keep it civil. But guys, until the next show, we're gonna have our film review early in the week, and then we'll be back on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. for the next live show. Until then, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for myself and for Alan. Have a great football Sunday. We will see you next time on the Falcoholic Live. Have a great night, folks.